Hello all my YouTube friends, how are you doing? This is a new video in English and I would like to share with you my learning experience. This channel is always about languages and cultures, and today I'm going to speak about learning languages the unconventional way. So what do I mean by unconventional way? It means everything you would do that you would not do at school when learning a language, and that would lead you to success. Okay, first of all, yeah, I'm going to just think about my experience learning Spanish or Turkish, and I'm going to let you know what are some secrets to be successful in language learning and how to maintain your foreign languages. Okay, first of all, first thing I would do is I would choose the resources myself. I would not let the school impose their resources, because sometimes you learn in textbooks and they are not interesting at all. Maybe they teach you how to pass through the customs in the airport. You are not going to the airport every day, so it's not very cool and it's not so funny. So you should find some very interesting materials to learn the language. I do not advise to learn by watching videos because content is limited. So you should find a textbook with very various dialogues and cultural texts, not too long at the beginning. So it should be maybe one page. Like ASML is excellent to start any language. Teach yourself is always good, but yeah, when you use ASML, you know that it's like more intuitive. But this is the first step, is to choose your resources, and your resources will evolve throughout time. Like your first resources will be textbooks, typically textbooks and beginner materials. Then you go through the textbooks. Second point, unconventional way of learning languages. You don't really learn, but you absorb the language. Like, you are not really trying to focus to retain words like for an exam. You're just exposing yourself and enjoying new sounds, new words, new expressions, new ways of thinking. Okay, then you learn your first step as basic materials. It could be ASML, Pimsleur, textbooks just in the target language, and then yeah, you go through it. You have to choose several resources, because if you have lots of beginner books, you will see that vocabulary would come over and over again, so it's good. Afterwards, the second step is to actually, for me, you can choose another way of learning. My second material would be magazines. Magazines are excellent to learn basic vocabulary. We'll talk about vocabulary later. Okay, magazines. Why using magazines? Because there are very interesting topics, and it's not always about one subject, and it's not too much in detail, like when you read literature, or when you read some novels. It's always very descriptive, so they use a lot of words you would not use in daily life, in spoken practice, or in level ups. So the best thing to do is just to take your magazines and just maybe underline or highlight the words you don't know, and have a notebook and just make two columns, one column with the target language and another column for the translation of the word. And so you have the context, which is the magazine, the text in the magazine, and you have the vocabulary, and you just Don't try to remember the words, just read it and get familiar with the words. You read it maybe once and one time to underline all words you don't know. The second time you will typically use your dictionary to figure out the right translation in function of the context, and then put you will take note of it in your notebook, and maybe just let it rest maybe one day, and the next day you will take it back. You will just open your magazine at the same page and read it again, and then you'll notice that if you have you have looked up all the words, well, you don't need your list, because you have words with your dictionary and now you're familiar with the words. Don't panic if you cannot use all the words, all the new words you have learned. That's not the goal. The goal is just to have more an extended passive vocabulary that you will actually convert to active vocabulary later on. So, okay, second step is using magazines. You don't do that at school normally. You don't often. They just have textbooks and annoying stuff. And the third step for materials would be using using actually what the targets, what the natives use, like novels, podcast, radio, using very authentic stuff. They will not simplify it for foreigners. That's hard at the beginning because you have to learn a lot of new words. But I think if you have learned the core language, like the core vocabulary, like 3,000 to 4,000 words, then you have to learn maybe some extra 1,000 or 2,000 words, and you are fine in general topics. And okay, this is for materials. It's very different when you learn it at school. You're just limited to one or two books, which are not very good because sometimes they use very odd expressions that you would never use in daily life, or that are sound very unnatural when you use it with native speakers. So, and yeah, I forgot to mention in the third part of your materials, using movies and dramas if you learn languages like Korean, Turkish, Arabic, and what else for dramas? Yeah, maybe Spanish. Yeah, you can watch Mexican dramas and so on. And yeah, so watching dramas, I've been doing that a long time for Turkish. What which advantages does it offer? So watching dramas is excellent to know, to actually discover how people speak in daily life, and it will never be fake language, like, I don't know, oversimplified or overcomplicated language. It's a real language that people speak in everyday life, and you will discover a lot of expressions, and you will get some grammar points very clear because you listen to it an awful amount of times. So when you listen it once, twice, then 3 times, 10 times in different situations, and you can you have the context because you are watching it. It's great. I think it's great, but I don't recommend to use dramas or movies at the beginning because you lack vocabulary at the beginning, and you'll find it very hard to focus on everything they say. And I would advise not to watch it with subtitles, because when you watch it with subtitles, even if the subtitles are in the target language, well, you will get distracted. So I never put subtitles when I watch dramas for Turkish, and I learned an awful amount of expressions, and when I just use those expressions when I go to Turkey or when I speak with Turkish friends, they just ask me, how did you learn it? Because you cannot learn those expressions in books. You will never be able to learn it in books because it's some slang or it's some expressions that you would not write down. You just use it while speaking, and yeah, you can learn a lot of daily life expressions and how to use certain expressions, and you can figure out grammar through watching dramas. It's actually very weird to explain, but typically I would never learn grammar before I'm very confident with the language, before I can actually can use it. I use grammar to understand some dark points, some constructions that I don't understand, but I can already speak the language. So that's actually what happens with Turkish. When I can speak it, and I'm very confident, but sometimes there are small differences, like yapmadım, yapamadım. One letter that changed all the meaning, but I did not know what it means. So I just asked people what's the difference between yapmadım and yapamadım, and they just explained, and it's crystal clear when you ask it after having studied the language for 2 years. And when I say 2 years, I invested more than 500 hours learning Turkish, so I'm ready to learn grammar. And it's very easy to learn grammar afterwards because you know those constructions, but you are not so conscious about how it works. And when you look at the rule, you will understand immediately because you have had a lot of exposure, and it came a lot and it came back a lot. So that's about materials. And then we have a second point as using the language as much as you can. It could be using the language. Where can you use the language? Let's take my Turkish example. Turkish is not like a worldwide language, but I could create Turkish environment. Like I knew how to have some opportunities to speak Turkish. Some classmates are Turkish, so I always speak Turkish. When I don't know something, yeah, this is the third point. You have also you have to ask native speakers, how do you say that? How do you say that? So it's great to have someone who knows your own language and the target language, and you just have to ask him, please don't speak in, for example, your native language is English and you're trying to learn some French, and you know a bilingual person, and you just have to ask him, please don't speak to me in English, I just want to learn French with you, do me a favor. And when I don't know something, I'll ask you in English and tell me it in French. So this is a great point. If you don't know something, you just ask. Don't be afraid of asking, even if it's a very simple thing. Sometimes we don't know simple things in languages because we have never been in contact with simple vocabulary. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you don't speak about a pan like in the kitchen, and you don't know how to say pan. I just asked my Turkish friend, how do you say a pan? He said tencere. Okay, so I spoke about materials. That's the first point. The second point is using the language outside. Like, you have to use it. You can use it in restaurants. In my case, I use it in Turkish restaurant. I know some places where there are a lot of Turkish workers. I went there. It was a supermarket, and yeah, buying stuff was just an excuse. I went there just to practice, and people were very friendly, so they helped me to learn some new expressions. I have searched for a Turkish neighborhood and I found it, so I go there sometimes. Other ways to practice on internet or Skype, but I prefer face to face. It's better for me. And how can you practice more? Going to the embassy if you don't find a place where to practice. I think people at the embassy would be happy to help you speaking the language and always advising you where to go to find some materials. Going to libraries specialized in the language. What else? If you have a cultural center, go there. You can ask some information, and if you see, you can search for festivals, maybe like Brazilian festivals. You go there and you try to make some friends. Okay, so materials. What was the second point? I forgot. You know the second point. Third point. Yeah, it's practicing outside the classroom, like practicing in real life. Third, make friends in the language. You you should hang out a lot with those friends, and learn very you'll learn real language. So it's very important to hang out with friends who speak the target language. After that, what should I say? Hanging out, really living the language, like create some emotions in the language. That's very important, and it's always left out when you learn languages at school. They don't focus on emotions. It's actually very important. Emotions could be connected with music, I think. Like I remember when I first started to learn Italian. I just like the sound of Italian, and it was so beautiful that I just listened to music sometimes, and I was very motivated to learn thanks to music and also to the melody of the language. So you can use music to get motivation always. You can also study lyrics. I don't do that because I think it's hard to do for me, like not sometimes songs are not so connected. They speak about that and that and that, but it's always good to do because you will encounter some weird words. So it's good to do it. If you want to take a break from your textbook and learn some songs, it's okay. So emotions, this is very important. If you develop emotions for a language, you will learn it very. You will get a great level in the language because you will learn it not because you have it, you have to do it. You will learn it because you love to learn it. It's hard to explain, but if you're passionate about a certain type of language, like it could be Spanish, it could be Mongolian, Korean, it could be Portuguese, it could be English, it could be any language. But the main point of that is that when you develop a love or a passion for a language, and when you feel something very weird inside yourself, well, you'll have a great level if you keep learning. I can assure you, you can have you'll have a great level. I had that a lot with Turkish. That's why I keep learning Turkish because I love the language and also the culture. Yeah. So one, two, three, four. The fifth point would be discover the culture at the same time, because when people teach languages at school, they don't teach you to learn the language at the same time, and you learn the language by being